Well, Newt Gingrich is seeing a new surge in Florida since his dominating victory this weekend in South Carolina. But a powerful union is now spending more than $1 million on advertising in Florida, and it isn't targeting Newt, it's going after Mitt Romney. Listen here.
Prosecutors called it corporate greed run amok. The company was fined $100 million. But Romney himself made a fortune. Corporate greed. Medicare fraud. Sound familiar? AFSCME is responsible for the content of this advertising.
So why are these public employee unions so afraid of Mitt Romney? Joining me now, David Webb, host of The David Webb Show on Sirius XM Radio, and Bernard Whitman, a former pollster for President Clinton. Okay, so this is so interesting to me because it's not like the AFSCME, which is the name of the union, bought this ad before Newt's surge. They bought it on Friday. His poll numbers were already off the charts. Many people had already assumed that he was going to win or at least place second in South Carolina. And yet they don't go after Newt. They go after Mitt Romney. Why?
Because they're playing smart politics. Let's give them credit, Megan. They don't want Romney to be the nominee. They would rather have Gingrich be the nominee who can, while he can draw the conservative bloc in, would have a challenge getting independents. Romney is a threat to them. By the way, did you ever hear of a prosecutor who used a favorable statement in their opening statement? That's what they used. They were talking about a Bain Capital issue. AFSCME does not want to go up against Mitt Romney because disgruntled Democrats who really haven't gone to the progressive left, they're going to look at the country from the economic standpoint. They're going to look at it not from the pure party line politics. That's a big fear for them. And by the way, hypocrites. They decry Citizens United, the decision, the super PACs.
That open the door for this kind of spending.
Right. Then they do the same thing. And what's important is before that decision, because of how they get their donations, they were not able to do that. So now they're able to perform the very same way they attacked the right.
Now, what do you make of it, Bernard? Do you believe that it's that they're worried about Romney's appeal to the independents, so they have to take him out?
No, I think that they want to educate the Florida voters about the record of Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney has a 30-year record of being anti-worker, of being anti-union. This is a guy who has come in and, by his own admission, enjoys firing people. His work at Bain Capital has gone in.
Insurance companies.
No, he didn't.
And the record, patently false. The record is also very
false.
clear. And that the record is very clear.
Accurate.
This is a guy who earns almost $500,000 in serving as a director for a company that went on to defraud the government. I think that the Florida voters have a responsibility to understand the truth. And if AFSCME can get into the fray here, why not?
If by that same reasoning, Bernard, then why wouldn't the Democrats want to go after Mitt Romney or want to go up against Mitt Romney more than up against Newt?
Look, I think either way, Barack Obama is extraordinarily well positioned. You have two candidates.
But you're not answering my question. What do you think, David? Well, if that's true, if they're going to do this class warfare narrative and corporate greed and he's Bain Capital and did bad things, don't they want to go up against him as opposed to Newt Gingrich?
What it looks like from a political calculus point of view is they're looking at the general election, not the primary structure. Clearly, there's going to be a problem. Independents will decide the 2012 election regardless of who's the nominee. Who has the best chance with the nominees by most political analysts? It'll be Mitt Romney. And by the way, to decry free market capitalism,
as Newt Gingrich has done, masterfully.
And by the way, Bernard, you've got to be accurate on the record. Mitt Romney talked about the ability to fire companies that don't provide good service. So this is something else that the Democrats will do. They will use half-truths rather than the full context of the facts. And that's what AFSCME's doing here.
But let's talk about the fact that this is union.
That Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney have been trading at each other.
Let's talk about the union aspect of this, because this is the nation's one of the nation's largest unions, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees Union. It's $1 million ad buy. Is there some reason why this union would dislike Mitt Romney more than it dislikes Newt Gingrich, or are those two candidates pretty much the same on the union issue?
Mitt Romney has a 30-year record in business of being anti-worker. Now, Newt Gingrich has actually never served in business. He's basically made most of his money through government and then being a shill for Freddie Mae and Fannie
I'm sorry, but this is
record
ridiculous.
Bernard doesn't like Newt or Mitt.
But at least be within the facts.
The records that you have to educate the Florida voters against Mitt Romney, I think, is very substantial. And why not get involved in this conversation? Now, I will say this. What this entire debate shows, the $3 million that Newt's super PAC spent, the $10 million that Romney's super PAC spent, the $1 million that AFSCME's PAC is spending is the Citizens United decision was a fundamentally wrong decision.
They seem to like it.
But it's
AFSCME
okay to
seems
use
like
it now.
Well, look, why keep both hands tied behind your back if your hands are being freed by a bad decision? We ought to get into the fray,
after all the years we've known each other,
it does underscore the fact that it was a bad decision.
Even your argument here is hypocritical, because here's what we have. You want to use the numbers. Bain Capital, 70% success rate. Wall Street, on average, 60% means a venture capitalist is a very successful firm. Free market enterprise. By the way, the very system that they decry is the one they need in crony capitalism. The unions want President Barack Obama in a second term because it's in their best interest. Pension waivers.
Why wouldn't they then save this $1 million for the general election contest? Why are they spending it during a Republican primary to choose between two guys, probably neither one of which they'd like?
Because a week ago, Mitt Romney had a 43-19 lead. Now, Newt Gingrich has an 8-point lead. AFSCME, as all the Democrats do, see a Republican Party completely in disarray, fighting for its soul, and so why not enter the fray, educate the voters, and stir the pot up a little bit?
First of all, the Republican Party's not in disarray, and we actually believe in the vetting process. We actually want a healthy debate out there. Let me finish. Let the people of America see their candidate and who they want to choose with. The difference between that and a media that will sit there and shill, by the way, to use your word, as they did in the last election cycle for Barack Obama, rather than ask direct questions about the candidates, that's a clear difference.
Is there any chance that this backfires, because there are folks out there who don't really love the unions, and if they see the unions attacking Mitt Romney, they say, oh, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, or whatever, right?
Absolutely,
you know what?
Megan.
Mitt Romney can use all the help he can get, so if there's a little bit of backfire, I'm sure he'd be very thankful for it.
You know, here's the thing that people have to look at. No matter what Barack Obama says, no matter what the Democrats do, in the end, it's your pocketbook and your kitchen table. Am I underemployed? Am I unemployed? Am I better off now than I was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, by the time we get to the election? And do I see a future, upward mobility? Are my kids moving out and moving on with their career?
There is no upward mobility in this country, and the Republican Party wants to do everything it can to cap that upward mobility on the top 1%.
Okay, so
quickly, then I gotta go.
We've had
$4
20
trillion
straight months
spent since Obama, $5 trillion since the 2006 Pelosi Congress, $9 trillion. We're now going to 16.1.
We've had 20 straight months of job growth. 20 straight months of job growth, and the jobs program cannot get out of this Republican Congress.
The longest high.
Now it's starting to feel like math. Now it's starting to feel like math. You lose me when it starts to feel like math.
You know what? The longest high unemployment since the Depression.
All right, now.
All right, that's
you know what? The American people said.
Now I have
Thank
some
you,
math
George
for you.
W. Bush, for
I have some math for you. 3 minutes until Kelly's court, and it's about this, gentlemen. Thank you.